In a tranquil village nestled among the mountains of Japan, a small temple stood as a testament to the passage of time and the endurance of spiritual practice. It was here, in the Zen temple of Ryushoji, that a young monk named Satoshi embarked on a journey of self-discovery and enlightenment. The temple, surrounded by ancient cherry blossoms, was a place of serene beauty and profound peace. Each morning, as the first light of dawn pierced the horizon, Satoshi would rise with the sun to perform a simple yet profound ritual. He would speak 5 lines to himself, 5 lines that encapsulated the essence of his spiritual journey. Satoshi was a novice monk, having joined the temple at the tender age of 18. His journey to Ryushoji was fueled by a deep yearning to understand the mysteries of existence and to find inner peace. Under the guidance of the venerable abbot Kenshin, Satoshi learned the fundamentals of Zen practice, meditation, mindfulness, and the art of living in the present moment. Yet, despite his dedication, he often found his mind restless and his heart unsettled. One morning, sensing Satoshi's inner turmoil, Abbot Kenshin approached him with a gentle smile. "Satoshi," he said, "I see that your mind is troubled. There is a simple practice that may help you find clarity and peace. Each morning, as you rise, speak these 5 lines to yourself. Let them guide your thoughts and actions throughout the day." The lines were as follows: 1. I am here, in this moment. 2. I am grateful for this life. 3. I will act with compassion and kindness. 4. I will embrace the impermanence of all things. 5. I will seek wisdom in all experiences. Satoshi bowed deeply, accepting the abbot's wisdom. From that day forward, he began each morning with these 5 lines, allowing their meaning to permeate his thoughts and actions. 1. I am here, in this moment. The first line, I am here, in this moment, became a cornerstone of Satoshi's practice. He learned to anchor himself in the present, to fully experience each breath, each sensation, and each thought without judgment or distraction. This was not an easy task for a young monk with a restless mind, but with time and persistence, Satoshi began to find a profound stillness within himself. One day, while meditating in the temple garden, Satoshi noticed a single cherry blossom drifting to the ground. In that moment, he felt a deep connection to the present, to the beauty and transience of life. He realized that by grounding himself in the present, he could find peace amidst the chaos of his thoughts. This understanding brought a sense of liberation, allowing him to experience life with a newfound clarity. 2. I am grateful for this life. The second line, I am grateful for this life, taught Satoshi the importance of gratitude. Each morning, as he recited these words, he reflected on the many blessings in his life, the guidance of Abbot Kenshin, the serene beauty of the temple, the camaraderie of his fellow monks, and the simple joy of being alive. Satoshi began to cultivate a deep sense of appreciation for the small, everyday moments that he had previously taken for granted. The taste of his morning tea, the sound of birdsong at dawn, the warmth of the sun on his skin, each became a source of profound gratitude. This practice of gratitude transformed his outlook, filling his heart with joy and contentment. One evening, as he watched the sunset from the temple's hilltop, Satoshi felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the life he had chosen. He understood that every moment, every experience, was a gift, and he vowed to cherish each one fully. 3. I will act with compassion and kindness. The third line, I will act with compassion and kindness, reminded Satoshi of the importance of selfless service. Inspired by the teachings of the Buddha, he dedicated himself to helping others, both within the temple and in the surrounding village. Satoshi's acts of kindness were small but meaningful. He assisted the elderly with their chores, offered comfort to those in distress, and extended a helping hand to anyone in need. Through these actions, he discovered the profound joy of giving and the deep connections that could be forged through compassion. One rainy afternoon, Satoshi encountered a weary traveler seeking shelter at the temple gates. Without hesitation, he invited the traveler inside, offering him warmth, food, and a place to rest. The gratitude in the traveler's eyes touched Satoshi deeply, reinforcing his commitment to living a life of compassion and kindness. 4. I will embrace the impermanence of all things. The fourth line, I will embrace the impermanence of all things, taught Satoshi to accept the transient nature of life. In the Zen tradition, the concept of impermanence, or mujo, is central to understanding the nature of existence. Everything in life, joy, sorrow, success, failure, is fleeting and ever-changing. Satoshi found solace in this understanding. Instead of clinging to the past or fearing the future, he learned to embrace the present moment with all its imperfections. This acceptance brought a sense of peace and freedom, allowing him to navigate life's ups and downs with equanimity. During the Cherry Blossom Festival, Satoshi observed the blossoms in their full glory, knowing that their beauty was fleeting. This awareness deepened his appreciation for the present moment, teaching him to let go of attachment and to find beauty in the impermanence of life. 5. I will seek wisdom in all experiences. The fifth and final line, I will seek wisdom in all experiences, became a guiding principle for Satoshi. He approached each day with an open heart and a curious mind, eager to learn from every experience, whether joyful or painful. Satoshi discovered that wisdom could be found in the most unexpected places. A conversation with a villager, a challenging meditation session, or a simple walk in the forest, each offered valuable lessons. By remaining open and receptive, he grew in understanding and insight. One day, while meditating by a tranquil stream, Satoshi had a profound realization. He understood that true wisdom lay not in the accumulation of knowledge, but in the deep, intuitive understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. This realization brought a profound sense of peace and fulfillment, reinforcing his commitment to his spiritual path. As months turned into years, Satoshi's daily practice of reciting the 5 lines had a transformative effect on his life. His mind became calmer, his heart more open, and his spirit more resilient. The villagers noticed the change in him and sought his guidance, eager to learn the secret to his inner peace. Satoshi began to teach the 5 lines to others, sharing the wisdom he had gained through his own practice. The simple yet profound ritual spread throughout the village, bringing peace and harmony to many lives. The ripple effect of his practice extended far beyond the temple, touching the hearts of countless people. One day, a young girl named Aiko approached Satoshi, her eyes filled with curiosity. "Master Satoshi," she asked, "how do these 5 lines bring so much peace and happiness?" Satoshi smiled warmly and replied, "These lines are like seeds, Aiko. When you plant them in your heart and nurture them with practice, they grow into a garden of wisdom and compassion." Each line reminds us of an important truth, guiding us to live with awareness, gratitude, kindness, acceptance, and a quest for wisdom. This is the path to true peace and happiness. As Satoshi grew older, he continued to dedicate his life to the practice and teaching of the 5 lines. His wisdom and compassion earned him great respect, and he eventually succeeded Abbot Kenshin as the head of Ryushoji. Under his leadership, the temple flourished as a center of spiritual growth and learning. Years later, as Satoshi lay on his deathbed, he gathered his disciples around him. With a serene smile, he spoke his final words: "Remember the 5 lines, and let them guide you always. Live each moment fully, with gratitude, compassion, and wisdom. Embrace the impermanence of life and seek the deeper truths within every experience. This is the way to true enlightenment." Satoshi's legacy lived on through his teachings, inspiring generations of monks and villagers to live with mindfulness and compassion. The simple practice of reciting the 5 lines each morning became a cherished tradition, a source of strength and guidance for all who embraced it. The eternal wisdom of the 5 lines. The story of Satoshi and the 5 lines is a testament to the profound impact of simple, daily practices on one's spiritual journey. By anchoring oneself in the present moment, cultivating gratitude, acting with compassion, embracing impermanence, and seeking wisdom, one can find true peace and fulfillment. The 5 lines are not just words, they are a way of life. A path to deeper understanding and enlightenment. They remind us that true wisdom and happiness are found not in the external world, but within our own hearts and minds. In the serene village of Ryushoji, the cherry blossoms continue to bloom and fall, a timeless reminder of the impermanence and beauty of life. And each morning, as the first light of dawn breaks over the mountains, the monks and villagers rise with the sun, reciting the 5 lines that guide their journey towards inner peace and enlightenment. Thanks for watching. Hope enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Just click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Also, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video. Why do we worry about the past? What is it about our past mistakes that keep us so entangled in regret? Why do our minds, like restless travelers, constantly revisit moments we wish we could change? These questions often echo in the hearts of those burdened by past actions. Gautama Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." Yet, so many of us find it hard to let go of the mistakes we've made, allowing them to cast shadows over our present and future. But what if the key to peace lies not in erasing these mistakes but in understanding them? What if, through mindfulness and wisdom, we could learn how to stop worrying about the past and truly live in the present? The story of the stone bearer. There once lived a man who carried a heavy stone. He had picked up this stone many years ago, on a path he had wandered as a young man. At the time, he thought the stone was of great value, a treasure hidden from the eyes of the world. He believed it would bring him wealth and recognition. So, without hesitation, he placed the stone on his back and carried it with pride. For many years, he walked with the stone on his back, but as time passed, the stone became heavier. What once seemed valuable now appeared burdensome, but still, the man continued to carry it. He had grown accustomed to its weight, and although it slowed him down, he believed he could not set it aside. One day, the man found himself in the presence of a wise monk. The monk, observing the man's hunched back and weary steps, asked, "Why do you carry this stone?" The man, surprised by the question, replied, "I believed it was a treasure. I thought it would make my life better." The monk nodded thoughtfully and then asked, "And has it?" The man paused, realizing that his belief in the stone had been an illusion. In fact, the stone had brought him nothing but pain and regret. But the man had carried it for so long that he felt as though he could not let go. "I fear that without the stone, I will have nothing," the man admitted. The monk smiled softly and said, "The stone was never the treasure. The treasure lies in your ability to set it down." The weight of regret, just as the man carried the stone, we often carry our past mistakes like a burden, believing that we cannot set them down. Our regrets, like the stone, become a part of us. We fear that letting go would mean losing something important, perhaps a lesson or a piece of our identity. But as Buddha teaches, clinging to the past prevents us from living in the present. The stone, much like regret, is not the treasure we think it is. The true treasure is the wisdom to release what no longer serves us, the mirror of the past. After speaking with the monk, the man continued his journey, still carrying the stone, though now with a sense of doubt. He began to wonder why he could not simply let go. That night, as he lay beside a fire, his thoughts raced, replaying the moments in his life that had led him to pick up the stone in the first place. In his dreams, he found himself standing before a great mirror. In the mirror, he saw his reflection, but it was not the man he was now. It was the younger version of himself, the man who had first picked up the stone. The reflection spoke to him, saying, "You were foolish to believe in the stone's worth. You have wasted your life carrying it." The man felt a pang of guilt and shame as his younger self continued, "You could have done so much more had you not picked up that stone. You have failed." Suddenly, the mirror cracked, and the reflection disappeared, leaving the man alone in the darkness. He awoke, his heart racing, overwhelmed by the weight of his guilt. How could he move forward when his past mistakes haunted him so? The next day, the man returned to the monk and shared his dream. "Why can't I escape the past? Even when I try to let go, it finds its way back to me," he lamented. The monk listened patiently and then said, "The past is like a mirror, but it is not a reflection of your future. When you look into the mirror of your past, what do you see?" "I see my mistakes," the man replied. "Then that is all you will find," the monk said. "But if you look deeper, you will see that the mirror is cracked. The reflection is no longer who you are. The mirror lies because it cannot show the truth of the present." The man stared at the monk in confusion. "How do I stop looking at the mirror?" The monk smiled and answered, "By realizing that it no longer exists." The illusion of reflection, the mirror in the story represents the way we often view our past mistakes. We see them as a reflection of who we are, allowing them to shape our present identity. Yet, as the monk explains, the mirror of the past is cracked, it cannot show the whole truth. Our mistakes are not a reflection of our worth or potential. The past is an illusion, one that no longer has power unless we continue to look at it and believe in its distorted reflection. To stop worrying about past mistakes, we must understand that the person who made those mistakes is not the person we are today. The river of time, determined to understand the monk's teachings, the man set out to reflect on his life. He walked to a river and sat on its bank, watching the water flow steadily past. As he sat, he noticed that the river never stopped moving. Each moment, new water flowed in, and the old water flowed out, never to return. It dawned on him that life was much like the river. Time moved forward, and no matter how much he wanted to, he could not bring back the moments of his past. What was done, and just like the water in the river, his past had flowed away. The present moment was all that remained, fresh and full of new possibilities. Feeling a sense of clarity, the man picked up a stone from the riverbank and tossed it into the water. He watched as it disappeared beneath the surface, sinking into the depths and leaving nothing but ripples in its wake. "The stone has no power over the river," the man whispered to himself. "Just as my mistakes have no power over my life unless I give them that power." The man realized that while the past had shaped him, it did not define him. He had the power to choose what to carry and what to release. Explanation: the flow of life. The river symbolizes the flow of time and the natural progression of life. Like the river, time moves forward, and we cannot stop it or reverse it. Our past mistakes, like the stone tossed into the river, are a part of our journey, but they do not control the present unless we allow them to. By acknowledging that the past is gone, we can begin to live in the present, free from the weight of regret. The garden of new beginnings. With a renewed sense of understanding, the man returned home and began to tend to a small garden. He planted seeds in the soil, watered them, and patiently waited for them to grow. As the days passed, he marveled at the way the garden transformed. The seeds sprouted into delicate shoots, and the shoots grew into vibrant plants, each one unique and full of life. The man realized that, just as the garden flourished with care and attention, so too could his life. He had the power to nurture new beginnings, to plant the seeds of his future in the rich soil of the present. His mistakes, like the stones buried beneath the garden, had become a part of the foundation, but they no longer defined the growth of the plants above. One day, the monk came to visit the man's garden. "You have created something beautiful," the monk said, admiring the flowers and trees. The man smiled and replied, "I have learned that just as a garden needs care and attention, so too does the mind. I no longer worry about the mistakes of my past. They are like the stones buried beneath the soil. They are there, but they no longer hinder the growth of what I plant today." The monk nodded in approval. The mind is indeed a garden, and with mindfulness, it can bloom. Cultivating the present, the garden in the story represents the potential for growth and new beginnings that exist in each moment. By focusing on the present and nurturing the seeds of today, we can create a future that is not weighed down by the mistakes of the past. Our past experiences, like the stones buried beneath the soil, may still exist, but they no longer have the power to prevent new growth. The key is to cultivate mindfulness and to tend to the present moment with care and attention. As the man tended to his garden, he found peace in the simple act of living in the present. He no longer carried the heavy stone of regret, nor did he look into the cracked mirror of his past. Instead, he embraced the flow of life, understanding that each moment was an opportunity for growth and renewal. One evening, the monk visited the man once more and asked, "Have you found the treasure you were seeking?" The man smiled and replied, "Yes, I have. The treasure was never the stone I carried. It was the wisdom to let it go and to live fully in the present." The monk smiled and said, "You have learned the true meaning of Buddha's words. The secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, nor to worry about the future, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly." With that, the man understood fully, his past mistakes were not chains, but stepping stones. Each one had brought him to the wisdom of the present. And in that moment, as the sun set over his flourishing garden, he knew peace at last. The weight of the past had dissolved, replaced by the lightness of now. He was free. Thanks for watching. Hope enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Just click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Also, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video. Once upon a time, in a tranquil village nestled among mist-covered mountains, there lived a humble monk named Ren. Ren was known far and wide for his compassion and willingness to help others without hesitation. He spent his days tending to the needs of the villagers, offering guidance, and teaching the ways of Zen Buddhism. Ren's heart overflowed with kindness, and he believed wholeheartedly in the principle of selflessness. He believed that by helping others, one could find true happiness and inner peace. Little did Ren know, however, that his unwavering dedication to helping others would lead him down a path filled with unexpected challenges and revelations. 1. The burden of expectations. Ren's acts of kindness did not go unnoticed by the villagers. They began to rely heavily on him for assistance, seeking his guidance for even the smallest of matters. While Ren was happy to help, he soon found himself overwhelmed by the weight of their expectations. The more he gave, the more they expected from him, leaving him feeling drained and exhausted. This part of the story highlights the potential downside of constantly helping others without setting boundaries. Ren's desire to help stemmed from a genuine place of compassion, but he neglected to consider the toll it would take on his own well-being. 2. The erosion of boundaries. As Ren continued to assist the villagers, he found himself sacrificing his own time and energy to meet their needs. He neglected his own spiritual practice and self-care routines, believing that his duty to others outweighed his personal needs. Slowly but surely, the boundaries between Ren and the villagers began to blur, leaving him feeling lost and disconnected from himself. This part emphasizes the importance of maintaining boundaries, even in acts of kindness. Ren's inability to establish boundaries resulted in the erosion of his own sense of self, leading to feelings of disconnection and disillusionment. 3. The cycle of dependency. The more Ren helped the villagers, the more dependent they became on him. They grew accustomed to relying on his guidance and support, neglecting to take responsibility for their own lives. Ren's efforts to empower them were met with resistance, as they had grown accustomed to being rescued rather than taking control of their own destinies. This aspect explores the unintended consequences of excessive help. By constantly rescuing others, Ren inadvertently perpetuated a cycle of dependency, inhibiting the villagers' ability to develop self-reliance and resilience. 4. The loss of authentic connection. Despite his best intentions, Ren began to feel a sense of isolation and disconnection from the villagers. His interactions with them became transactional, devoid of the genuine connection and intimacy he once cherished. He longed for meaningful relationships based on mutual respect and understanding, yet found himself trapped in a cycle of superficiality and obligation. This part delves into the emotional toll of sacrificing genuine connection for the sake of helping others. Ren's desire to assist the villagers led to a loss of authenticity in his relationships, leaving him feeling lonely and unfulfilled. 5. The sacrifice of self. Ren's dedication to helping others came at a steep price, the sacrifice of his own needs and desires. He had become so consumed with meeting the expectations of the villagers that he neglected his own inner voice and intuition. His sense of self had become intertwined with his role as a helper, leaving little room for personal growth and fulfillment. This aspect underscores the importance of self-care and self-awareness in acts of service. Ren's self-sacrifice ultimately led to a loss of identity and purpose, highlighting the need for balance between helping others and nurturing one's own well-being. 6. The shadow of resentment. Despite his outward appearance of compassion, Ren began to harbor feelings of resentment towards the villagers. He resented their constant demands and expectations, feeling as though his efforts were unappreciated and taken for granted. His once pure intentions had become tainted by bitterness and disillusionment. This part explores the shadow side of altruism, the potential for resentment to arise when one's efforts are not acknowledged or reciprocated. Ren's feelings of resentment stemmed from a lack of boundaries and self-care, highlighting the importance of maintaining a healthy balance in acts of service. 7. The illusion of control. Ren believed that by helping others, he could control the outcome of their lives and bring about positive change. However, he soon realized that his efforts were futile in the face of life's unpredictability. No matter how much he gave, he could not control the choices and actions of the villagers, leading to feelings of powerlessness and frustration. This aspect explores the illusion of control that often accompanies acts of service. Ren's desire to fix and rescue others ultimately led to feelings of frustration and disillusionment when he realized he could not control the outcome of their lives. 8. The diminishment of joy. As Ren continued to pour his energy into helping others, he noticed a gradual dimming of the joy and passion that once fueled his actions. What had once brought him immense satisfaction and fulfillment now felt like a burden weighing heavily on his shoulders. The joy of giving had been overshadowed by the exhaustion of constant giving, leaving Ren feeling depleted and uninspired. This part highlights the potential for burnout in acts of service. Ren's relentless dedication to helping others had drained him of his vitality and zest for life, emphasizing the importance of self-care and balance in maintaining one's passion and enthusiasm. 9. The elevation of ego. Despite his best efforts to remain humble, Ren found himself succumbing to feelings of superiority and self-righteousness. He believed himself to be morally superior to the villagers, viewing himself as their savior and guardian. This sense of ego inflation distanced him further from the very people he sought to help, creating a barrier to genuine connection and understanding. This aspect explores the subtle ways in which acts of service can fuel the ego. Ren's self-perceived superiority hindered his ability to empathize with the villagers, perpetuating a sense of separation and judgment. 10. The depletion of spiritual energy. Ren's spiritual practice suffered as a result of his relentless focus on helping others. He neglected the quiet contemplation and introspection that once nourished his soul, opting instead to pour his energy into external endeavors. As a result, his connection to the divine grew increasingly tenuous, leaving him feeling spiritually depleted and adrift. This part highlights the importance of maintaining a balance between outward service and inner cultivation. Ren's neglect of his spiritual practice resulted in a loss of connection to the divine, underscoring the need for self-reflection and inner nourishment in acts of service. 11. The loss of self-worth. Ren's sense of self-worth became tied to his ability to help others. When he was unable to meet the villagers' expectations or solve their problems, he felt worthless and inadequate. His value as a person became contingent upon his usefulness to others, leading to feelings of insecurity and self-doubt. This aspect delves into the psychological toll of equating one's self-worth with external validation. Ren's inability to separate his value as a person from his role as a helper left him vulnerable to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt, highlighting the importance of cultivating a sense of intrinsic worth and self-acceptance. 12. The awakening of self-compassion. In the midst of his struggles, Ren experienced a profound awakening. He realized that in his relentless pursuit of helping others, he had forgotten to extend the same compassion and kindness to himself. With this realization came a newfound sense of self-awareness and self-compassion. Ren began to practice self-care and self-love, nurturing his own needs and desires with the same devotion he had once reserved for others. He set boundaries to protect his time and energy, allowing himself the space to rest and recharge. In doing so, he discovered a deep sense of inner peace and fulfillment that had long eluded him. This pivotal moment in the story highlights the importance of self-compassion in acts of service. Ren's journey towards self-awareness and self-compassion represents a crucial step towards finding balance and harmony in his life, demonstrating the transformative power of self-love and acceptance. With his newfound wisdom, Ren approached his interactions with the villagers from a place of authenticity and compassion. He no longer felt the need to rescue or fix them, but instead offered his support as a fellow traveler on the path of life. He encouraged them to find their own inner strength and wisdom, empowering them to take control of their own destinies. Explanation: this part emphasizes the shift in Ren's perspective from rescuer to empower. By letting go of the need to control or fix others, Ren creates space for genuine connection and growth, fostering a sense of autonomy and empowerment among the villagers. Ren's journey taught him that true compassion begins with oneself. By honoring his own needs and boundaries, he was able to show up more fully for others, offering his support from a place of strength and authenticity. In doing so, he discovered that the greatest gift one can offer is not to rescue others, but to empower them to find their own light within. Explanation: this final part of the story encapsulates the overarching theme of self-compassion and empowerment. Ren's journey towards self-awareness and self-compassion ultimately enables him to become a more effective and authentic helper, highlighting the transformative power of compassion and wisdom in the journey of self-discovery. Thanks for watching. Hope enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Just click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Also, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video. In a village nestled between ancient mountains and serene valleys, there lived a wise Zen monk whose reputation for wisdom stretched far and wide. His teachings drew students from distant lands, all seeking peace, clarity, and the secrets of the mind. Among his many lessons, one stood out as most enigmatic and profound: how to destroy one's enemy without fighting. This lesson, taught through 4 specific ways, captivated the hearts and minds of those who came seeking answers. One day, a young man, burdened with rage and vengeance, sought the counsel of this great monk. He had suffered betrayal and injustice at the hands of someone he once trusted, and he burned with a desire to retaliate. Yet, knowing of the monk's wisdom, he sought a solution that did not involve violence but would still bring him the satisfaction of seeing his enemy fall. The monk greeted him with kindness and offered him tea, their cups filled with fragrant steam that swirled like the mysteries of the heart. "Before we begin," the monk said softly, "know this: destroying an enemy without lifting a weapon is an act of supreme mastery. It is the way of nature, which teaches us that battles are often won before they even begin. There are 4 ways to destroy your enemy without fighting. Listen closely, and I will teach you. 1. Transform your enemy by transforming yourself." The monk began the story of a young warrior who once lived in the same village many years ago. This warrior, proud and arrogant, had many enemies because of his relentless need to prove his strength. Among these enemies was one who constantly sought to humiliate him in public, challenging his honor at every opportunity. One day, after a particularly vicious insult, the warrior was ready to fight, but before he could draw his sword, an elder approached him. "Why do you let him control your mind?" the elder asked. The warrior, confused, replied, "He insults me. Should I not defend myself?" The elder smiled, "When you let anger fill your heart, you are already defeated. When you transform your heart, you transform the world around you. The moment you change, your enemy ceases to be your enemy. Try to change your inner response instead of seeking to change him. Begin there, and see what happens." The warrior, curious but doubtful, decided to heed the elder's advice. He began to practice mindfulness, patience, and humility. He no longer reacted with anger, but instead with silence and calmness. Over time, his composure and restraint bewildered his enemy. The insults ceased, and slowly, what was once enmity turned into grudging respect. The monk paused and looked at the young man. "When you transform your heart, you begin to see that your enemy is merely a reflection of your own inner turbulence. By calming the storm within, the outer conflict dissolves. This is the first way to destroy an enemy. By transforming yourself, you make the very concept of an enemy irrelevant. For, in truth, the true enemy resides not in others, but in your own mind." The young man contemplated this deeply. He realized that his burning desire for revenge was more a reflection of his own pain and insecurity than the wrongdoing of his enemy. Yet, still unsure, he pressed on. "Master, what if my enemy does not change, even if I change?" 2. Silence the enemy with wisdom. The monk nodded as if he expected this question. Sometimes, even when we change, the enemy does not see it, or refuses to acknowledge it. But wisdom can silence even the fiercest of foes. He then told another story, of a respected teacher who once had a bitter rival. This rival constantly spread rumors, telling lies to diminish the teacher's reputation. The students of the teacher urged him to respond, to defend his honor. Yet the teacher remained silent. His students were baffled. "Master," they asked, "why do you not speak out? Why do you allow these lies to continue?" The teacher replied, "If I speak to defend myself, I acknowledge the lies. They gain power because I give them attention. Instead, I will continue to act with truth and integrity. In time, people will see the difference between the light of wisdom and the shadows of deceit." As time passed, the lies faded, for they had no foundation in reality. The rival's reputation withered under the weight of his own dishonesty, while the teacher's reputation grew even brighter. The truth had silenced the lies without a single word of confrontation. The monk looked into the young man's eyes, his gaze penetrating. "In the face of slander or deception, let your wisdom be your sword. By staying true to your values and not giving fuel to the enemy's actions, they will eventually defeat themselves. This is the second way: silence your enemy with the truth and wisdom of your own being. In the end, truth is unassailable." The young man nodded, understanding that silence could be a weapon as sharp as any blade. Yet he still wrestled with the desire to see justice served more directly. "But Master," he asked, "what if silence does not suffice? What if my enemy continues to harm me or others?" 3. Show compassion where none is expected. The monk smiled kindly, as though this question was both natural and necessary. "This leads us to the third way," he said. a way that few can walk, yet it is the most transformative of all. He told the story of a wandering monk who, in his travels, encountered a notorious bandit. This bandit, known for his cruelty, had attacked countless innocent people and stolen from them. The monk, knowing who the bandit was, did not avoid him but approached him with a gentle smile. "Are you not afraid of me?" the bandit asked, surprised by the monk's fearlessness. "Why should I be afraid?" the monk replied. "I have nothing to lose that you can take." The bandit laughed at the monk's foolishness, but the monk offered him something unexpected: kindness. Over time, the monk continued to treat the bandit not with fear or anger, but with compassion. He shared food with him, listened to him, and even offered him a place to rest. The bandit, who had spent his life seeing the world as a battlefield, was disarmed by this unexpected compassion. He found himself unable to hate the monk, unable to raise his weapon against someone who saw him not as an enemy but as a suffering soul. In the end, the bandit laid down his weapons and became a student of the monk. The young man was astonished. "But master," he said, "surely not every enemy can be won over with kindness. What if compassion is seen as weakness?" The monk's expression softened. "Compassion is not for the enemy alone, it is for yourself. When you show compassion, you release the poison of hatred from your own heart. Whether the enemy changes or not is beyond your control, but you will have freed yourself from the cycle of suffering." And in many cases, compassion opens a door that was once closed. The young man, moved by this story, saw the truth in the monk's words. Still, there was one more question burning in his heart. "For, when by letting go, master," the young man began hesitantly, "what if the enemy cannot be changed by compassion, cannot be silenced by wisdom, and continues to harm? What if they are relentless in their cruelty?" The monk's face grew serious, but not harsh. Then, he said quietly, "There is the final way, the most difficult, but the most powerful." He told the story of a great general who had once been undefeated in battle. This general had an enemy who had sworn to destroy him, pursuing him across the land, wreaking havoc on villages and families in his quest for revenge. The general could have fought him, could have continued the war endlessly. But one day, he made a startling decision. He relinquished his rank, gave up his position of power, and disappeared into the mountains to live as a hermit. His soldiers were shocked. His enemies were baffled. Why had this great warrior simply walked away? But in walking away, the general had removed himself from the battlefield. His enemy, left with no one to fight, had lost. The war ended not with a battle, but with the general's decision to let go. He had chosen peace over victory, and in doing so, he had won a deeper victory. The monk looked at the young man, his voice filled with the weight of wisdom. Sometimes, the greatest victory comes not from winning, but from letting go. When you release the need to fight, to prove yourself, to win at all costs, the enemy loses their power over you. This is the final way, to win by letting go, by stepping away from the conflict and finding peace within yourself. The young man sat in silence, absorbing the profound teachings of the monk. He realized that the enemy he had come to defeat was not just the person who had wronged him, but the anger, pain, and fear within himself. The 4 ways the monk had shared, transforming himself, using wisdom, showing compassion, and letting go, were not just strategies to destroy an external enemy, but methods to conquer the enemies within his own heart. He bowed deeply before the monk, filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Master," he said. "I see now that true strength lies not in defeating others, but in mastering oneself. The monk smiled, his eyes twinkling with the quiet joy of one who has witnessed transformation. Remember, he said, the greatest battles are fought within. And the greatest victories are those that leave. Thanks for watching. Hope enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Just click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Also, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video. Once upon a time, in a serene valley nestled between majestic mountains and lush forests, there existed a small, secluded monastery. The monks in this monastery led simple lives, meditating daily, tending to their vegetable gardens, and helping the villagers in the nearby settlements. The teachings of the monastery were rooted in Zen and Buddhist principles, emphasizing compassion, mindfulness, and selflessness. The head monk, an elderly man with a calm demeanor, often shared wisdom with his disciples through stories and parables. One tranquil morning, the head monk gathered his disciples under a grand ancient tree. The sun's gentle rays filtered through the leaves, casting a soft glow on their faces. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the distant sound of a flowing river added to the peaceful ambience. The head monk began to speak. Today, I will tell you a story about the darker side of helping others. While compassion is a cornerstone of our teachings, it is essential to recognize that helping others can sometimes lead to unintended consequences. Let this story serve as a reminder to always act with mindfulness and wisdom. In a nearby village, there lived a young man who was known for his boundless kindness and willingness to help others. He was always ready to lend a hand, whether it was assisting with heavy lifting, offering advice, or providing financial aid to those in need. His generosity earned him great admiration and respect from the villagers. Yet, unbeknownst to him, his actions would soon reveal the hidden complexities of altruism. One day, an elderly woman approached the young man with tears in her eyes. Her son had fallen ill, and she lacked the means to pay for his treatment. Without hesitation, the young man handed over a significant portion of his savings to the woman, assuring her that everything would be all right. The woman was immensely grateful, and the village hailed him as a hero. 1. Unintended dependence. A few weeks passed, and the young man noticed that more and more villagers were coming to him for help. At first, he was delighted to be of service. However, as time went on, he began to feel overwhelmed. People who had once been self-reliant started relying on him for even the smallest of needs. They grew accustomed to his assistance and stopped making efforts to solve their problems independently. The young man started to realize that his actions, though well-intentioned, were creating a culture of dependence. Instead of empowering the villagers, he was inadvertently making them reliant on his help. This realization weighed heavily on his heart. 2. Personal sacrifice. As the demands on his time and resources increased, the young man found himself neglecting his own needs. He worked tirelessly to support others, often sacrificing his own well-being in the process. His health began to deteriorate, and he grew weary and fatigued. Despite his declining condition, he continued to push himself, driven by a deep-seated belief that he had to help everyone who asked. He feared disappointing those who relied on him and felt guilty whenever he considered saying no. His life became a relentless cycle of giving, with little regard for his own limits. 3. Strained relationships. The young man's constant preoccupation with helping others also took a toll on his personal relationships. His family and close friends began to feel neglected, as he was always too busy to spend time with them. They missed the days when he was present and engaged, and they grew resentful of the villagers who seemed to monopolize his attention. In his quest to be a beacon of support for the community, the young man inadvertently pushed away those who loved him most. The strain on his relationships created a sense of isolation and loneliness, adding to his emotional burden. 4. Resentment from others. Not everyone in the village was grateful for the young man's help. Some individuals, driven by jealousy or a sense of entitlement, began to resent him. They spread rumors and questioned his motives, suggesting that he only helped others to boost his own ego. The young man was heartbroken by these accusations, as his intentions had always been pure. The villagers' resentment created a toxic atmosphere, and the young man found himself the target of unwarranted criticism and hostility. His once joyful acts of kindness became sources of stress and conflict. 5. Depletion of resources. The young man's financial generosity, while initially admirable, eventually led to the depletion of his savings. He had given away so much money that he struggled to cover his own basic needs. The stress of financial instability added to his already mounting worries, and he found himself in a precarious situation. Despite his own hardships, he continued to help others, driven by a sense of duty and compassion. However, the realization that he could no longer sustain his generosity began to gnaw at him. He feared that he had failed both himself and the villagers. 6. Enabling harmful behavior. As time went on, the young man began to notice that some of the people he had helped were using his generosity to support harmful behaviors. Rather than using the resources he provided to improve their lives, they squandered them on vices such as gambling and alcohol. The young man felt a deep sense of regret and guilt. Realizing that his well-intentioned actions had, in some cases, caused more harm than good, this revelation was a bitter pill to swallow. The young man had always believed in the goodness of people, but he now saw that his help could be enabling destructive patterns. 7. Loss of identity. In his relentless pursuit of helping others, the young man began to lose sight of his own identity and aspirations. His entire existence revolved around meeting the needs of others, and he neglected his own passions and dreams. He no longer recognized the person he had become, and this loss of self deeply troubled him. He yearned to reconnect with his own desires and goals, but felt trapped by the expectations of those who depended on him. The weight of their reliance kept him tethered to a path that no longer brought him joy. 8. Burnout and fatigue. The cumulative effect of his constant giving, personal sacrifices, strained relationships, and financial struggles led to severe burnout. The young man's physical and emotional exhaustion reached a breaking point. He found himself unable to continue at the same pace, and his body and mind demanded rest. Despite his best efforts to push through, he was forced to acknowledge his limitations. The burnout left him feeling defeated and disheartened, questioning the very value of his actions. 9. Loss of autonomy. The young man realized that his life was no longer his own. His decisions were dictated by the needs and expectations of others, and he felt a profound loss of autonomy. The sense of freedom and agency he once cherished had been replaced by a sense of obligation and duty. This loss of control over his own life left him feeling trapped and powerless. He longed to reclaim his independence, but the path to doing so seemed fraught with difficulty. 10. Moral dilemmas. As he continued to navigate the complexities of helping others, the young man encountered numerous moral dilemmas. He struggled to discern when his help was truly beneficial and when it was causing harm. The lines between right and wrong blurred, and he grappled with feelings of confusion and uncertainty. These moral dilemmas weighed heavily on his conscience, and he found himself questioning his own judgment. The once clear path of compassion had become a maze of ethical challenges. In the depths of his despair, the young man decided to seek guidance from the head monk at the nearby monastery. He traveled to the serene valley, hoping to find solace and wisdom. The head monk welcomed him warmly and listened attentively to his story. After a long and heartfelt conversation, the head monk shared a simple yet profound insight. True compassion, he said, must include compassion for oneself. Helping others is a noble pursuit, but it must be done with mindfulness and balance. Without taking care of yourself, you cannot truly take care of others. The young man took these words to heart. He realized that his journey of helping others had been driven by a desire to make a difference, but he had neglected his own well-being in the process. He began to practice self-compassion. Setting healthy boundaries and prioritizing his own needs, he also started to empower the villagers rather than simply rescuing them. He taught them skills and encouraged them to find solutions to their own problems. Slowly but surely, the villagers regained their independence and self-reliance. The young man's journey was a profound lesson in the complexities of compassion. He learned that helping others, while noble, can have unintended consequences if not approached with mindfulness and balance. By practicing self-compassion and empowering others, he found a way to create lasting positive change without sacrificing his own well-being. The head monk concluded the story with a gentle smile. Remember, my disciples, that true compassion is a delicate balance. Help others with an open heart, but never lose sight of your own needs and boundaries. Only then can you create a harmonious and lasting impact on the world. The disciples bowed in gratitude, their hearts filled with newfound wisdom. As they walked back to the monastery, they reflected on the profound lessons of the story, vowing to practice compassion with mindfulness and balance in their own lives. Thanks for watching. Hope enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Just click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Also, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.